Oops. Okay. So I'm back. Um, the lighting is it bad? Okay. So so I'm back, right? So yeah, we're back. And is it just me, or am I developing a stronger body dysmorphia? Does my face look big? Does it look big? Am I getting chunky again? Let's find out. No, of course not. We are maintaining a good diet. So I want to talk about my weight again because uh, back in June, let's just say June, start of the week of June, I've already had reflections on deciding if I really want to get uh, fit. That's by maintaining a training or an exercise plus diet, of course, or I was just going to be happy of being fat because I was fat and I knew it. You know, it's not like I would eat those. I would eat, for contrast, Uh, I would eat like 3 to 4 cups of rice. I already told this the last video. This video is supposed to be to answer some stuff, but because I was like, I'm not answer and update. So this video is going to be another life update because this is kind of a turning point that we are trying to get committed on, and I really hope that it's not gonna turn out like my crocheting a hobby that just went down the drain. I think it's different actually. I do think, yeah, it is different because first things first. Yeah, I haven't told anything yet. That's how bad. I have to admit it, and I have to make it, uh, you know, normal or somehow announce in every video that I have really bad. Um, I really have bad organization of thoughts. So when I try to explain stuff to you, then it's all, out of places. I don't have, so whatever the first thing that comes out of my mouth, I would run with that. And the stuff that I actually want to say, I would think about that after I fucking filmed the video. So let's give me like a second. Okay. So start our weight. Okay. I have reduced my consumption of rice from 3 to 4 cups every single meal to just a cup in every meal. Let's just say a cup, not barely a cup, because if I say barely, that sounds not it, right? And that's for 3 times a day. And I just don't eat 3 meals a day. Of course, I still have stuff like this occasionally. I would say occasionally because I don't like when my grandmother has her dialysis. It's also occasionally because the doctor said no, you can't have Jollibee chicken joy or Jollibee burger steak every single session, and the session being 3 times a week. Uh, okay, sorry about that. Okay, the light is so. Yeah, so that's the thing about the Jollibee. So now, it's been like 1 or 2 weeks. My grandmother hasn't had a Jollibee meal for lunch in dialysis, and my mom gets one of these, and I have to eat it now. Like actually now, like around 9:30. You know what? Let's eat it while we talk or something. Okay, and that. And after a month, I have received changes. I told you last video that I would weigh myself in the big weighing scale in in the hemodialysis unit, and then from 80 kilograms and even more than that, I think I even went to 80, 81, close to 82 kilograms. And uh, the first time I don't really weigh myself there. I started weighing myself when I started this cutting diet, and then I when I got there, I was 77.8, and that was a lot. I would I was literally, yeah, hold on. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, and then it went to 76, and now yeah, I couldn't really weigh myself earlier because because I couldn't really get in there. You know what I mean? Like my mother came with me to 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 bring my grandma there, so I couldn't have the time. So yeah, and the last time was like last Wednesday. I was 75.3, and I wore those really heavy shorts, so I'm pretty sure I was 75, and I ate breakfast. No, 75 is actually my goal, and if I go further in my cutting diet, ah, sorry that hurt. My face would be going like this, and I want that because naturally my face is shaped as flat. See, it's flat and it's not small at all. I have a pretty wide face, but it isn't a shape. We have my mother and I have the same. I inherited her face shape. So enough of that. Next, uh, okay, the new hobby that I picked off is reading, and I am really hooked on this book called Ego and Archetype by Ego and Archetype by Edward F. Edinger, and uh, he pretty much uh, the primary person or author slash, let's say, psychiatrist, psychologist, such, is Jung or something. And yeah, it's about the separation, relationship, and the implications of either of those, of the ego and the self. And it talks about primarily the self is actually the totality of a person. So it contains the both unconscious and conscious. So that means that ego is part of the self. That's pretty much what Jung says, you know. And Edward F. Edinger doesn't really disagree with that, but instead he uh, elaborates in a way where he would relate it to certain archetypes or religious doctrines from all over religions, and including Christian theology, Judaism, uh, and other authors. It's not just religious doctrines, and those are what I remember. Like the the he refers to it as religious myths. Now, I'm trying to be careful about that because people in my country, in the Philippines, are very conservative, and I guess religious myths is when you say religion and myth in one phrase, it would seem like an oxymoron. Oxymoron, where it's like really opposite, but it just makes sense because I feel like to a person who is tied to a religion, I guess, uh, religion is not a myth. It is not a myth. You can see it every day, but the stories are a myth. If you if you look up the text definition of a myth, then you would uh, you would see that for a story or for a happening to be called a myth, then it should be passed down. It should be like a century old, you know? Like, I don't know what's next to the century, but it should be old, old, and the Bible is old. So it comes from there, you know? And yeah, that's it. And it talks about the inflation, which is how ego, how a person in his life, there are stages of ego inflation, where the ego, as the person grows, goes out of the self, but still needs to be connected, because there is an implication. If the ego is not fortified, then the self, you know, with all the power of the self, cannot really fix the ego. So there are certain causes like rejection from parents, because it starts there. Oh my god, my face. The light really hits the oil in my face. Yeah, okay. So yeah, and stuff like that. And that would really break the ego self ego self access, because ego self identity he referred to as the ultimate connection of the self. Okay, so that's it. I have so much this. That's not it. So we have ego self access, where the self is in the shape of mandala, or let's just say something like this. This is the self. So the self, in definition, is the wholeness or the totality of pretty much everything. So unconscious, conscious, right? And ego is part of it, primarily. And innately, I also describe it as like that. And innately, meaning that when a child is born, he doesn't have any, or it, it doesn't have any ego. It only has a self. Because, you would think of it that how can a baby before 4 years old or as such, it has been observed, and many studies suggest that the baby doesn't have any consciousness. So that means that since the self is pretty much the conscious part of the self, where it is our animal there's an animety animity. Is that even a word? I think I encountered that in the book. No, it's not. Where it's so embarrassing. Anyway, where we're just on to our animal instincts, because we are animals, of course. And when individuals, let's not say individuals, when human beings like us, let's just say beings, are much more connected to the self, and zero ego has released, then we are much closer to God. And in fact, that we are kind of like on a deity level, because that's how it's compared, So, and when this child is born, actually, he kind of uh, put it into perspective that the mother is the self, because the mother has a built-in nurturing trait, nurturing, unconditional love, and a mother knows best. You know what I mean? Like, this mother will take care of this baby, because that's animal instinct. And keyword, that's a keyword for the self, right? And the ego is the child, even though he's not conscious as an individual. The mother child relationship depicts the self ego axis, where the self is the mother controlling the child, loving the child wholeheartedly, because she's a mother in any in normal circumstances, of course. And the child would bring chaos, in infant stage to a toddler. How old is a toddler? Is it like 2 or 3? But in the range where this baby or this child has no unconscious, has no consciousness whatsoever. So yeah, the mother-child relationship has the self be the mother and the ego be the child, because the child has malicious intents, really kind of crazy, doing things, unprecedented and question out of the question stuff, and yeah, they're unpredictable. That's what ego is. It is inflation, but they do not know that, because in this relationship, it's a dynamic between the mother and the child, but the child itself, uh, of course, has self and ego access on its own, but it has not undergone individuation into a individuation process whatsoever. So those are my thoughts about the book, and I'm only on chapter 3. I think I'm using this app. I'm not saying which, and yeah, this is it looks really cool, and we're gonna talk about this stuff. In my phone, okay, let's talk about my phone. And when I press read, this is what it shows. The infamous. Hold on. How do we? Yeah, it's pretty much my phone. It has this kind of like dead pixel situation. It's not even a dead pixel. It's somehow like this, I don't know, leakage of this purple, violet, dark void. It really looks like the void. It's me. And when I try to read, when the text is like right here, you can't really read it. It's really uncomfortable. When I'm scrolling through Facebook and stuff, it's like I changed my wallpaper to this. So yeah. So when you read, it's like, uncomfortable, just like I said. So I would just read below. So I have been thinking, and I think the stars, the universe, it kind of aligned to this, that I am going to be committed onto reading this, because how did the book make me feel? The Ego and Archetype book is relatable, really relatable to personal experiences of others, experience of my loved ones, and I even shared just a bit of the chapter 2, alienation of the ego, to my mother. She asked me a question and I answered it and translated it to my mother tongue to her, and she understood, and she was like, that makes sense. I can't disclose the full information of it, but it's pretty much. And I told her that I am pretty much inspired and going to be persistent about being a psychologist. You know what I mean? Like, what could, no, not what could go wrong. Everything could go wrong. I could die. That's not a word. Yeah. So, yeah, anything could happen. But at least I set my mind to something. That there's acceptance in the. I can't show it to you, can I? Because the stuff is kind of. The light is. This is the psychic life cycle. Yeah. Yeah, that's the psychic life cycle, y'all. I think you can see it now. It looks like the Krebs cycle, I know. But it says here that the original wholeness, which is the ego self-identity, that's what I tell you about. It's not just a self-identity. You can say it's a self-identity, but to be much more clear, ego self-identity is pretty much the self. So that's you. That's wholeness. There's no ego inflation involved. And inflation is pretty much your reaction to rejection. And alienation is your reaction to rejection as well. You know, it could be both or it could be after. Because inflation, sorry, I have to do. So yeah, so that's it. And I would say that I am I doing inflation since? Yes, yeah, because inflation in Christian theology and pretty much in every religion there's sins, right? And that is sins. And how do you read that? Hybris is pretty much the same thing as sins. This is the human projection, or in a way that humans project activities and do such things that are beyond God, that should be done by God only. And uh, that is from, it is forbidden, just like premarital sex, revenge, expressing oneself, and all that. Those are sins, those are inflations. And to cause inflation is rejection. So there's this one tale that I read, or a myth in the book, where I forgot their name already, of course, where there's brothers. This is just there's two brothers. Hold on. And pretty much, I think one brother is that. Let's just disregard. But the other one, which is significant to the story, actually significant to the story, is something to do with the ground. I think he's plowing or doing something with the ground. And when God, uh, I guess, checks up on them, fucking dogs, man. Anyway, so when God checks up on them, and the other brother gives something out of his hard work, he was doing something, he was doing a job. He gives him something, God. He gives something, God. He accepts it with love. And when this other brother, the second brother, uh, gave something God out of his like a product of his job or what he's doing, God just didn't accept it. And apparently, in the story, he did not accept it for no apparent reason. So this brother got so mad, and that's the Inflation Act, uh, where he killed his brother because he was rejected by God for no reason at all, no justification, because that's how the story goes. And apparently, when you go into inflation, you would kind of go to fall. And that's also what happened to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And the Garden of Eden is a self, and they were part of it. So when pretty much when you can't where when you won't uh, release your ego or do any inflation activities, you're pretty much one with God, and God will protect you from that. But the act of when uh, the serpent is actually kind of like the ego, you know. He tempted uh, Eve into eating the fruit, in which God just told him that don't eat that, and then they did, right? So when they did, they gained consciousness. That's ego. They gained ego. They gained consciousness. The they gained my fucking eyes. It's this fucking. Sorry for the language, but I think I'm getting cancer in my fucking eyes, man. It's kind of bright. The backlight. Let's just put it like this. No, yeah, something like that. It's kind of dark, but at least I don't have eye cancer. Anyway, so pretty much after they ate the apple, they were not part of the self anymore, and that was the act of inflation. They kind of disobeyed the God, and yeah, they disobeyed God, and that's it. That's their inflation, and the fall would be that they literally fell from the paradise. They're not, uh, they can't enjoy the perks of being in the paradise, being in the perfect world where you don't feel any hunger and you're one with God. But no, uh, after they inflated their ego, Adam and Eve came back to Earth, and worked hard to eat every day, and pretty much suffered because it's hard to keep up and meet. They were the first people in the earth, so pretty much. When you think of the Victorian era, there are only a few people that are the monarch who just exploits the poor or the peasants, and it's something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just suffering. It's just when you get born, or yeah, when you are born into a poor family. Hold on. So yeah, it's dark. So let's get eye cancer again. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I have so much shit to say, and I was like, and now, so enough with the story of the book. I could talk about it in for hours. Anyway, so I'm planning to get a Kindle, and I think the universe aligned for me because my classmate, and I would say in my college circle of friends, my only friends, that this guy is my kind of really close friend. Yeah, it fell. It fucking fell. The fucking light bulb did not break, but it fucking fell. Anyway, so fucking the fuck. Anyway, so yeah, I am planning to get a Kindle, and my classmate happened to has one. Happened to yeah, he has one, and he doesn't use it. I already know about this fact back then when we were second year, and now we are fourth year, and I was like, yeah, yeah, and he has the Kindle Paperwhite 7th gen, and I'm all for that. I was like, yeah, it's kind of cheap. I only got it for 1K, and I already asked my mom to get it. You know, like now I have no fucking choice but to use it, and I'm really kind of scared actually that this might turn into the crochet complex. What the fuck am I, a fucking psychologist? That crochet complex did in the first few days, let's just say days. I am really dealing with like personal matter. This he won't leave me alone. So yeah, and I think this that I would describe my term of crochet complex, where at the first my first few projects, and let's just say first three projects, I produced this. I no My first one is I got this. Hold on, let me get it. It's just right here. Is this? I know it's so ugly. Let's show it to the light. It is supposed. I had no. This is free pattern. It's just me being a beginner as such. And this is where it started. This is the original single stitch or something. I fucking forgot all this stuff, but when I learned how to do the basic stitch, I just went with it. And then it just turned into the shape like this because I kind of skipped. And hold on, these fucking dogs. Anyway, so I just did with this, and it felt pretty good at first. And if you ask what it's kind of like a stuffed toy. It's 3D, and bye. It's 3D, and yeah, it's kind of a plushie, and I stuffed some old T-shirt. It's not old dirty T-shirt. It's just old. It doesn't fit me anymore. It's from like 7th grade. No, it was 6th grade actually. And the second one is this. I made so much. This is the only flower that I could make, and this one is actually a fail. I gave this. This is supposed to be a rose. Yeah, I gave this to my mother, and it actually has a stem and like a little flower bow, but I couldn't really get it together, so it kind of fell apart. I wanted her to put it on her desk in her office, but yeah. Next one is this. I kind of matched the color to my school backpack, and I think this is much better. It's just yeah, it kind of lost its shape. No, this is actually the best flower that I've made. As you can see, it's much more flowery. Yeah. And the next one is this. This is kind of like the first actual flower that I put, and yeah, this is my other bag, and it's this. It's kind of yeah. Look at that. It might look good. It might look good, yes, but I guess it's just a color. But if you see at the back, yeah, who the fuck did your hair? Anyway, I just stuffed my school stuff there. Anyway, so yeah, I really hope it doesn't because it is such a good device, and yeah, I really don't see myself reading. I mean, I would, but I think that's like the downfall of reading because I am really kind of like a hyperfixation person. That's not normal. Of course it is. It's not. Let's eat this. No, we can't because we have to speak. Anyway, so about that, yeah. And yeah, it's like this book really is so it just makes sense, and I'm really willing to finish it before I can prove anything, you know what I mean? To prove perseverance and focus that I'm just not really in a hyperfixation mode. That this is normal. This cycle is normal. This interest is normal. So, it's not just some Dota 2 hyperfixation where I have to distract myself from everything. So I hope it doesn't because the genre that I really wanna no not genre. Let's just say the subject matter that I'm really interested on is psychology and yeah religion, and this is kind of really good. Religion not much, but psychology yes, and I am willing to pirate every single uh, every single book that I can find. And yeah, see. So yeah, I think that would be all, and I will be reading for the rest of my evening. I'm hoping that I could get in focus because I feel like I made it. I started to make this video around 9 or past 9. Is past 9 like 9:15? I don't know, but pretty much it was something like that, like 9:07. It's now 34 minutes, but yeah. Uh, and I thought of like, am I making this video just because I want to speak, or in like I feel like I need to, yes, and or at the same time I'm kind of like procrastinating into reading, or am I just gaslighting myself to get it to wait to get a Kindle before I fucking read a book. No. Let's this no this debunk. Let's fucking debunk that. So yeah, sorry for the language, profanity and stuff, but this has been great. So, I would not say that I'm in a good mental state because, knock on wood, because it doesn't stay that long. So, when things are going right, we must expect the worst. And that's just life. So, yeah, I hope it's pretty. Yeah, let's make an outro. I hope you guys are happy to watch this video, glad, well informed, and just well educated of the things about my life and the things that I'm interested in. So in the next video, I don't know what I'm gonna be speaking about, but it's just gonna be about myself. So yeah, I hope that I do this every single day or every other day. So bye now.